Hello, everybody, and happy Friday. Welcome to another The Eternal Cylinder stream. I'm Genesee with Good Shepherd Entertainment, and I have with me Carlos Bordeo, game director of Ace Team. I know you're well familiar with Carlos, but I think he has something really cool to show you today with the editor that you probably haven't seen before. So, hey, Carlos, welcome back. What's new in the world of Carlos?
Hello, everything's good here, and really excited to show everyone a little sort of a developer environment level that I kind of stitched together so that we could have some fun. I think it's gonna be cool.
I'm excited. I thought it was really neat when I saw. So before we jump into that, we're going to talk about our contest, which we do every stream from our Discord community. And you guys are so great in giving us these creative ideas and filling stuff out. So the question that you were asked is, if Trebham wore ornaments of some kind in their clothing, like a headdress, hairstyle, object, what would they wear? And use your Trebnology design ideas. So the first one we have to show is Tintan. So look at this, Carlos. Beautiful
Yeah, I love
headdress
it.
here with jewels.
Yeah, very
What do
elegant.
you think about
Yeah,
this?
I love it. I really like it. It's like these little jewel things. I looks beautiful.
Hmm.
Very nice.
Long eyelashes too. The Trebham are
Yeah,
just pretty.
yeah, yeah. That one needs
Okay, our
the
next one.
mutation, the sparkling mutation.
Oh yes, yes, that'd be perfect. Okay, the next one is Po-op guy or poop guy, however they want us to pronounce it. And they did a whole lot of choices here.
Yeah.
Like there's masks, there's weapons, there's all sorts of things. So what do you think?
I'm actually surprised about the one with the cape because in the original design of the game, before some of the aspects of the design changed, there was a kind of a permanent evolution at some point in the game, which was very similar to the one that you can see there with the looks like a cape from behind. So I looked at that one immediately. It was like, wow, does he have any insight into our design documents?
Nice. Great minds think alike. Okay, and our third place is SMJ James with Punk Turbom, uh, looking dangerous. Their trunk.
Yeah, yeah. This one, he has like these green things coming out and the spiky things. Yes, he's a dangerous one.
Yes. Our honorable mention is Ceramus, who did, gosh, just pages and pages. Like, basically, it was its own little design document, pages and pages of pictures and descriptors and things, and just really too many to show. But definitely go to the Fan Creations channel and Discord if you want to see all of those creative ideas.
I will go check them out later. Cool.
All right, so go ahead and jump into this thing you want to show all of us. We're excited to see.
Okie dokie. So here I am. What I'm showing now is one of maybe, I don't know if hundreds, but definitely dozens of typical developer levels that we have in the Unreal Engine, where we test out things in the game. And you will typically have like an environment where you can test out enemies, where you can test out mutations, where you can test out things. And I basically compiled a few stuff where I'll be able to show some features of the game as well as just fun stuff. So let's start. So for instance, examples of things that we have in the game is, for instance, temperatures. So for anyone who's played the game early in the beginning of the demo, you can go into cold areas, and there's also a desert area. And the environments of the biomes have their temperatures, but we also have these temperature volumes. For instance, here I have this temperature at -50, and this other one here at temperature +50. So I can just start playing around with the treble, and you'll maybe see it. Let this start. So you can start moving around in these areas, and just like that, you just start having effects of difference. Here we have a frozen chopper.
So, is there like an ideal Trebham temperature then? I mean, that predicates you've got cold and hot. What's
Yes.
their favorite temperature, Carlos?
I would have to remember what it was, but I think it's we tried to keep it pretty close to human values. Not that this necessarily represents the actual values that would be in the fiction of the game. These values could be 5,000 or, but it's easier for when you're a developer, you're working around with numbers to sort of represent them in something that you can understand, so that everyone will kind of be familiar with them. So it doesn't really mean that in the planet of the fiction these are the actual temperatures, but something more with what we can work with. So for instance, there we had the cold, and we can also, for instance, go into here and maybe activate to activate. I can get some nice little particles and make it snow, so it feels colder. Stuff like that. Cool things like for anyone who's interested in game development, I think the Unreal Engine is so much fun. It's like almost like a game of its own. Like you can play around with lights, particles, and so many things. So yeah, that's one of the systems we have in the game. One thing here that's pretty cool that I think people have seen definitely in the game, if you've seen some of the videos, maybe some haven't. And I'm gonna go here into level blueprint. This is kind of the blueprints are kind of the one of the ways in which you program in the game, but with a visual code. So I'm just gonna attach this here, compile, and run it. And what that does is that it immediately gives me the mutation of the mixer body. It shows up the tutorial because I've never seen it before, so there's basically some code that says if you haven't received this mutation yet, you should get the tutorial. And I think some people have seen this body. What this body does is that it mixes ingredients, and it allows the Trebum to have like projectiles, things with which they can attack enemies. Now the interesting thing about this, and I think a lot of people maybe haven't seen how it works exactly, is that it depends a lot on which ingredients I eat, the type of bombs that it creates. So in this case, I'm mixing primarily food ingredients, and what I'm getting is these type of projectiles, the ones that if you throw, they explode into small little like crystals that blow up afterwards. You can also, let me throw this one out, and I can also mix these ones where you get the purple bombs, which are like a direct hit sort of thing, like you would throw and boom. This one blows up and has like a bigger radius damage effect. Or you can mix, in this case it's because things that give you health primarily give you that type of bomb. And we have finally the ones that have dependency on water elements, which create the green bombs, and the green bombs create these kind of poison clouds that make these green areas of toxic fumes that can affect certain enemies, and some of them I think are invulnerable, so I think that's why this one isn't dying. Not entirely sure. Sometimes on the developer levels, he actually did die. So that's something I think is fun. This mutation does get a lot more prominent. You can find it more prominently seen in later episodes of the game, which obviously everyone hasn't seen. But yeah, there's so many different systems interacting in the game. Like we have physics, temperature, lights, particles, all sorts of things. Here I have a little bit of water where I can drink, and fun stuff that happens in the game, and sometimes I think people will kind of enjoy experimenting a little bit with, is for those who've played the beta, you'll notice. Wait, I want to disable that mutation. Just let me, so I don't get the tutorial all the time. There we have it. So for the people who played the game, you'll notice that sometimes you have these bouncy things where the trombone can sort of jump around.
Ooh, talented.
Yeah, but they actually do interact with some enemies, for instance. So I can actually, whoa,
Oh my gosh, new basketball
and I
in
have
play.
no basketball in play, and oh,
Oh wow.
yeah, there's a little cruel at the end, but it's just a way to showcase many different systems in the game kind of interacting. So you have these bouncies, you can actually throw these um, glitch balls onto these, and this will come up at a certain point in the game. Might have to do something to do with the puzzles.
Love it. Every person who's interested in modding is now going to request that feature more and more and more. So this will be neat.
Yeah, maybe we can do something like a triple basketball or something like that.
Yes, yes. I'm going to ask you some questions while you're showing things here, just whenever you have space. Some of them will, guys, relate to what he's showing, and some of them are previously asked on Discord. And if you have some now, go ahead and ask them in the chat for the stream, because we'll be putting those in here too. Uh, SMJ James asks, for the Grash Tub, can the items be gotten by alternate means if someone finds platforming to be too challenging for whatever reason? Basically, they're just wondering how hard things will be to acquire in the game.
That part there, the Grash tube has actually a core, which is very important in the game. In the later episodes, there are different ways of getting it. There's actually kind of two primary ways of getting it, but I found out that in the game sometimes people have been able to sort of solve problems in ways that we didn't expect. So there might be more. But yeah, there are alternate means. We have in the game generally tried to come up with ways of solving things. And there's always kind of the obvious way of doing it that's kind of pretty. That's kind of more. You get it more by looking at the environment and what we've placed in there, and it kind of shows what things are in the puzzle surrounding that environment. But there's sometimes things that aren't quite that obvious, and I think people will enjoy experimenting with those things.
I'm getting this feeling you're setting up for like a Trebham Rocket League here. What are you doing? It looks like a soccer tournament about to happen here.
Yeah, this that would be interesting. We could do Rocket League. Here I wanted to show actually one of the interactions of this little snail creature. I think I showed it in the other one of the live streams, but this little creature, kind of snail type, you can actually throw food in front of him, and you'll notice that. Oh no, I'm gonna get crushed. You'll notice that the shell shines, like it sparkles, and that's because it's being hit by the lights of the surface of the cylinder. It's one of those tiny details that I think very few people will actually notice. But we did do like those small little details, like you are playing through the game, and sometimes the servant of the cylinder, which might be one of the flying sort of camera thingies, the beholders, they pass by one of these and they start shining. It's because they have these like really reflective shells. So that's kind of cool. So I'm going to eliminate these guys so they don't bother me, so I can show the interaction I was trying to show. So these guys are always kind of wandering around trying to find stuff to eat. But if you want to get the pearl that's basically hidden inside, you can sort of stand behind them and sort of offer them food and get the pearl. Well, there I got another tutorial, which is about the elements that are will have a hard shell. But he'll go and try to eat these ingredients that I threw. And he's eating them, and as soon as he sees me, oh, yep, he gets scared and tries to get back. So if I would have sort of gone in front of him while he was trying to go get these little like pineapple thingies, purple pineapple thingies, he would have run back and sort of stayed in there because he's a very scary little critter and he doesn't want to have any trouble. And he's pretty vulnerable out of his shell. So that's one cool little interaction. Another thing, for instance, which I can show. Yeah, this is another interaction. I'm not sure that some people have seen. I think I've talked about it in previous live streams, but in case you didn't catch it, so here I'm gonna get some friends. So the glick balls, they move around a little bit like in herds, and they would seem like they pretty much try to run away from you, but if you do get one of their friends, they sort of try to defend their friend. And now they're gonna start chasing at me and whoop, start jumping at me, try to free their little buddy. They don't want me to hold him, so I have to start running away. No. So maybe this isn't the maybe Rocket League is not the thing. Maybe we can do rugby or American football with these. So you grab one of the guys and then you have to take him from one end of the level to the other.
Will they still chase him if he's outside of his bubble?
No. Once they're dead with the little crossed eyes, that's the end for them. They'll stop.
Oh, see, no basketball, no soccer.
Gotta keep them alive. But they are protective of their own kind, so.
Walla Deer asks, will there be an option in the full game to hide the HUD to take awesome screenshots?
Yes, there is. That is done with a NVIDIA plugin, which is specializes in taking screenshots. We integrated it into the game. I think it's Ansel, the name. Daniel. Yes, integrated it into the game. So yes.
Yeah, I think if you're using Windows, you can also do a search for the Xbox. It's just native to Windows, the Xbox game bar, and I think that has options for you to take photos as well if you don't have an NVIDIA card.
Might be as well. But that one, in previous screenshot contests, I've seen people use, and so take like really, really nice screenshots of the game. What else do we have here? We have I can show here something that is also present in the game as one of the features is the relationship which enemies have between each other. And for the most part, you tend to see like the big creatures get near kind of the smaller creatures, and so the predators sort of chase them. But in cases like this, where you have the Tongo Grop come up to the charger, this artificial vehicle creature, he's actually afraid of it, even if he's much larger. So the Tongo Grop will chase me if he sees me because I'm his prey, but as soon as he starts getting near these guys, he tries to evade them. So there's always this situation where you have the enemies have to be making their decisions on what they're going to be doing. And in this case, even though I'm kind of nearby, the fact that I have this car-like creature nearby means that he's not. Oh, well, now I'm being attacked by both. But the Tongo Grub is actually keeping his distance. So there are relations in the game where you have that sort of things where even larger predators will sort of flee the servants of the cylinder, and woo, they can do some crazy stuff, especially in these.
Ooh, he's flying.
Yeah, he's flying in these developer levels. And as you can see, he found out that there's a place full of glick balls over there, so he's gonna decide to come over here and start trying to catch them. I don't know if he's gonna be able to move here. Yes, he will. and
Do
you
they
can
have an
see.
order of preference of like who they dislike the most and, go for this one first, second, third, fourth?
Yes, there is actually an entire system based on who they actually prefer. They tend to go a little bit more for the Trebum because what we found out in the game is that if they had too much of a preference for some of the smaller creatures, they would not engage that much of the player in the interactive aspect of the game. Like the larger enemies would kind of ignore you too much. So we'll just have to leave it at that maybe treble meat is more tasty for them than quick ball. But yeah, there is a whole a hierarchy of what enemies prefer to do, what stuff, which kind of prey they try to go after, and which one. These levels are also fun because we can sort of play around with physics and see how the enemies move around rocks and stuff. As you'll see, lots of debris might be appearing. We can also sort of quickly clone enemies and make situations which will never exist in the game. No, don't expect to see an army of chargers like this in the game, but you can pretty quickly do stuff like this and hope the game doesn't crash and start seeing some pretty weird situations.
Oh, traffic jam coming
Yeah.
through.
There was a point in the game, for those who played in the beta, you might have experienced the bug where the trouble would fall through the ground sometimes through the landscape, and that was a really hard bug that we had in the game that was very difficult for us to catch. And we had this since it would usually happen when you were rolling around in ball form. The game has different type of like physics when you're rolling around than when you're um, playing like walking. So what we did is we had this map which had this like a hole, and we would start raining from the sky glick balls, which also use like a sphere component, and see if they would go through the terrain. So you would basically have something similar to, let's see if I can do something very quickly. Window, notes panel. So we had something like a landscape editor tool, and let me see if I can get this to in the sculpt tool. It's compiling shaders, so it might take a bit. So yeah, we would make something like a big hole on the terrain, a little bit like what I'm doing here. And then we would grab like, let me see, edge mouse panel. We just grab as many clickable as we could. This is going to take me a little while. Grab them all. And the game starts running a little bit slower because it has all these cameras and stuff. I'm really going to mess up this level. So you can start sort of spawning these creatures in the air.
Oh man, I want the view right below looking up.
And I have no idea what's going to happen here. But you start getting these. Oh, why didn't they spawn anymore? Well, that's so weird. I think there's a hard limit at the moment for how many of them I can spawn at the same time. So basically, we would remove that limit, and you would have hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 of them falling. And what we had to see is if they were clipping under the terrain, basically falling through. And we would put a box underneath the level, something similar to just like grabbing this big plane and just putting it here underneath. And we would start looking at the clickables and see them start falling. And obviously with a very low frame rate, when you just have so many that the game is really meant to have that many creatures, you would see them sort of go through the terrain and start falling and get caught by this plane underneath the terrain. And that's like in an environment where you're testing maybe collisions or stuff like that. Let me see if I can quickly sort of change the limit. I don't know where this was. Creature spawning tables. I'm going to for the we have a hard limit right now, and I'm going to change it. And let's see what
This
happens.
is gonna be so good. I'm really excited.
Now, yeah, and they start falling, and we start having this pool.
It's like deployment.
And obviously, this looks like one of those children game things where the
like pinata's broken. Everyone's getting the candy.
or those pools of balls, colored balls that they have for the kids when they go. Yeah, this looks like a lot of fun. So obviously, this is an environment which is not exactly what the game was designed for. But these levels we do these sort of quick tests and it's really fun seeing what goes on. There's some really cool enemies that I do not want to spoil, obviously, from the game, that do some really awesome stuff that you can put lots of them and it really makes them for some really fun interactions. So yeah, this is sort of stuff that you'll see in the game. So I'm going to reopen the level because if I leave it like that, we're going to have a kind of not so good frame rate. So I'm not going to save. Change.
They're asking if cleansers or any of the other, I guess, servants of the cylinder are inspired by Toy Story. They said it reminds them of Toy Story.
I mean, I've seen Toy Story. I think I know which one you're talking about. There's a Toy Story in which I think some of the there was this kid that I think who would mix toys together and make like this. There was this baby with a spider head. Andres designed the one that looks like a bacteriophage. So I would have to ask him if he had any inspiration in Toy Story. I don't think so, because I think that comes from old biology book that my dad had that we would always obsess with when we were kids. So, but yeah, I get this the similarity.
Saramas asks, what would your Trebum name be if you were a Trebum?
Oh, what my Trebum name be?
Yes, what is your Trebum name?
I think I would name him Charlie. I'm Carlos, and everyone's always known me as Carlos, but no one's ever called me Charlie, and I don't know, so I guess I named you Charlie. These enemies that I have here, these are a little bit fun too, because what I can do here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually place this guy here. And so I've been showing many different aspects of the game that have to do with many different things that are done by different programmers. So the physics, the mutations, the temperatures, the creatures, the destruction. And Rodrigo Garcia, who is in charge of the AI of the creatures, he would, while he was implementing the creatures, he would add like debug cheats to be able to control the creatures so that he could test out animations. And even though I don't have camera control and I'll always be looking at the creature from one same angle, this is pretty neat because this is me controlling the toggle grub and sort of squishing
Ooh.
squishing all the enemies. This is the this is the brown version of the toggle grub, the one that appears in the desert. So he has his desert camouflage. So you'll see there one of the harder things sometimes in video game development is, for instance, the foot placement of creatures, how they adapt to the terrain and how they move in in different animations, because you have blending of multiple animations as they start stepping on areas. This is a pretty basic scenario, but as soon as you start going into areas which you have like areas where there's curves and rocks and obstacles, it's kind of difficult to see how his feet are gonna attach to the floor and all those stuff. So basically, this allows him to test very quickly these things. I think he had a button for the transformation. Yeah, it's kind of working weird. Yeah, that transformation isn't working now in the debug level, but that's one of the coolest features of the Tangle Grub is when he lifts his two claws and he doesn't move anymore with his feet. He uses this rolling ball, and he can get a lot of speed and chase the Trebom faster than they can actually move. So that's really cool interaction in the game. Let's see if I can show a little bit of some of the other enemies in the game. And let's see about.
Tintan is asking if you could share what it was like designing the elders. From what they've seen, all of them were old and immobile and wrinkly. Were there specific inspirations for this?
Let's see. In the studio, we're really big fans of the Dark Crystal. I think you'll see that inspiration from that from that movie on several of our titles, and I don't know. I feel like the elders have a little bit of Ogra, this like witch sort of creature that would poke out her eye and show it to the Gelfling. Like, and even the Skeksis and the Mystics were like these old birds and these old like creatures. They were so cool. I don't know. I think some of that must have passed on to a little bit the designs. And Mundo came up with most of the elder designs. He did some really wonderful drawings of some really eccentric looking ones. So yeah, that was pretty cool. So let's see here if I can get this.
Casey Gallum is asking, once the Tungle Grop kills something, how does it eat it? Does it suck the liquid up?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something that we actually did want to do as a feature in the game. In the original design, and this is one of those things that the when you're the game designer and you think about it, it's so cool. Maybe we'll do it for maybe an expansion or Eternal Cylinder 2. But the whole idea was that this round part, he could basically glue the creatures onto it. So I'll make an example. This was the idea. This is what we wanted to implement, but it was quite difficult. So in the end, eventually, we just had to leave it at the. We didn't have time enough to implement. The whole idea was that he would glue the little creatures and that he would roll backwards, making the sphere bring up the food all the way up and into his mouth. That was the plan. That's why the design of the creature, one of the reasons for the design of the sphere was that he would do that.
Oh.
So again, that would be something really nice. I hopefully would like to do that maybe. I don't know. I don't know, an expansion or a sequel or something. But the creatures, there were too many creatures. That's one of the things that's been quite a challenge in the game. That's that there's so many unique different creatures with so many different like behaviors. Like for instance, now I'm going to start playing around here with this one, this little nice zebra. And these guys float around. And it's many video games have this whole thing where you have maybe most of the creatures are like maybe very similar to a human being, like 2 legs, and they walk around, they do stuff. So you can focus more development time on making like a base character which you can add complexity to, but all our creatures are so different. So I have a button which allows me to fly faster, and I also have the butt stomp.
Technical term, guys. You heard it here first. Butt stomp.
Butt stomp.
That's so funny.
The only thing missing for me to have these, this almost like I could do a spin-off game, is to have the camera follow around the player. It's kind of a pity that I'm with this fixed camera angle. I would really love to like navigate the world around with. That's super easy. I mean, this is only for development purposes that that it's this way. Let's see if I can get a nice butt stomp in the middle of the group. Going down. Oh yeah, I got them.
Epic. Very nice.
What else do we have? We have.
They're asking me playing game says, can it do things with its beak? Like, what does its beak do?
Which one?
I think they mean the duck mouth kind of on the Wikifert.
With this beak, the mouth you see with this.
Yeah, like it kind of looks like a bill, like the hanging down part underneath its nose.
Yeah, this creature, it's kind of hard to. I really like the design because it basically floats backwards. This is actually more like like a protective shell that is similar to what a Triceratops has, protecting its neck. So you'll see this snout, this mouth with these teeth here, and if you flip around the character a little bit like that, you see when you see the ones that are sitting down. So you'll notice when I did the butt stomp that the position of the creature changes, and it looks more like something like this, where it has. If you would put eyes here, over here, and next to the snout, it would look almost like a mix between a Triceratops and a pig, but the eyes are like chameleon eyes here. I love this creature. Andres did it because it's so, like, depending on how it moves and the form it takes while it's flying versus the way it is when it's in its nest, it's hard to interpret, like to understand what it's really like. Some of the creatures are more like normal in a sense in their design. The snail-like creatures look more maybe terrestrial, but creatures like this one, the Onkifort, like I really love how foreign, like alien they look. So that's cool.
Yeah, you go. Me playing games. Hope that answers the question.
Let me see if I can get. This is the Tongle Croplet. This is the ice version, the blue version. Ah, wait, I forgot to make him player controlled. So you can go around here, and again, just move around, turn around. this guy's got attack. Yes, he does. No, 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 no. No, leave me alone.
Oh, he reads you like a cherubim, even though you're not. Or is he just going after the creature itself?
He's going after the creatures. Yeah, yeah. Oh, nasty. Don't do that. Leave me alone. Whoa.
Too slow, too slow.
I'm dead. Game over. There. Spoiler. What did he drop? Will that give me a mutation?
Was he reborn as a Glickball? What is that?
That's an ingredient. That was kind of funny. Some of the creatures drop parts that allow you to get mutations, but I will not spoil which ones do what. Not all of the creatures when they die give you mutations, but some of them do. And some make some really funny ones. You could also even be the servants of the cylinder. I don't think all of them can be controlled this way. I think the cleanser, no, because he has a mix of vehicle physics with regular movement physics, so that might make him quite difficult to make a player controlled. But we do have a few of these being able to be controlled. It's kind of neat, which allows me to show around just like fly around and explore the world in a way. All these things are super useful when you're trying to implement the creatures, because before you give them AI, you want to see how they move. So basically, before you're putting any code for the intelligence, I think this guy's following me because he thinks I'm a player. The cleanser, because he shouldn't be following these beholder creatures. Yeah, I think he thinks that I'm a player. Probably that's why he's chasing me.
Taco Tuesday has seen the square mutation and asked is there going to be a triangle mutation. I would hesitate for you to have to deal with that kind of level. Triangle mutation, how would that even move?
No, there is not. There's an ingredient, but that gives you skin that looks like a triangle, but there is no triangle-shaped body. Now, whether or not the elders and the infinite amount of almost like mutations, like in the fiction of the game, that could have been done, whether or not there could have been a triangle-shaped mutation in the universe, I think there's one that looks a little bit like a triangle now that I'm thinking about it. Like a cone more. There's like a cone shaped mutation.
Okay.
There's many of them, so I tend to kind of sometimes forget. There's a cylindrical one. There is a I think I can get it if I go here, blueprints. Blueprint. Give me a second. Let's see. 1 second. And I'll play now. Oh no, I'm with I have to get rid of you, sorry. And let's see. Yep. This one actually has this, it's like a mini cylinder, so you can actually roll over the clip balls. Oh, whoa, no! This cleanser is being pretty naughty. I think I'm going to put you there, and also you there, so that you can, bye-bye. For instance, this mutation has this tiny little detail. It's that you can actually deal a little bit of damage. It's not like you're gonna go kill any big creature with it, but it actually does hurt the smaller creatures a little bit, so you can play around with it. It doesn't move that fast. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. Ah, it's like a tiny little cylinder thingy. So it deals a little bit of damage. The regular treble in ball form, they don't really do that. So that's one of the special things. Not all mutations in the game are like meant to be like super useful. I think part of the fun of the game is sometimes some of them are more like visually meant to be like interesting, so that the that you get this level of customization in the game where you sort of make the trouble look a way that you find interesting. There are mutations. There's actually a few mutations which are not good at all. That they're negative. So, for instance, anyone who's ever eaten one of the click balls, you will notice that they actually, if you eat them, they take away your legs. And now I am the eternal cylinder with a trunk.
This feels like karma, Carlos.
Yes,
After killing all those poor glick balls down there.
I've been punished without legs.
Nice. Question from Tintan about family. It says the game emphasizes family. Did the Trebum live in nuclear family units or was it communal? Can you tell us more about the family before the cylinder came for Trebums?
They definitely have. So the difference was between communal versus. Um,
Like nuclear family units, versus more communal kind of tribal stuff.
can you describe the difference? Because my English on communal.
Like mom, dad, kids live in a house by themselves, or
Okay, okay.
everybody shares like stuff.
I would say more everyone shares because of the way, if you'll notice, based on the story and the fiction surrounding the Trebums are born without a gender, the sex. They basically, as they evolve, as they grow, they can choose to remain that way, or they can go to be male or female. And actually, many of the elders that you bump into the game, you can't really know what they are. So it's not so much a mom and dad situation. So it's more like the group of grown-ups raising the children, the small ones. So it's not like a traditional family. The way in which Trebum are raised, and their family structure is not like a human.
I can imagine it does take a whole village. I mean, if your younger whatever child was rolling everywhere, and I mean that would be tough parenthood.
Yeah, but there are there are that is something that doesn't remain completely unexplained in the game. People will get to see. I don't want to spoil anything, but points where you get to see how the Trebum um, basically life and a little bit glimpses of how things were before the cylinder came into the world. So yeah, I feel I've shown so many things that.
Okay, do you just want me to hit you with questions? We have a few. Yeah. They're unrelated to each other, but they'll still be fun. Let's see. So Tintin asks, which gameplay aspect is your favorite? Like exploration, puzzle, narrative, what's your favorite?
I really like narrative aspects of the game. There are some very... I'm not saying I don't know which one's the favorite. The host running away from the cylinder. I love it. I don't know. That's like it's such a tough question. The narrative, but I, since I started with that, there are some parts of the game they go pretty deep into narrative parts, about the world and almost philosophical. That's something that hasn't been seen yet, that we haven't shown at all, and we're going to keep as something for people to discover when they're playing the game. Um, yeah, but the game was born as a conceptual an idea surrounding many ideas of catastrophe, like cataclysms and survival and the artificial against nature and many things. So all those ideas are things that resonate very much with the design of the game, and so yeah. But I love every aspect of the game. I like the running around from the creatures, the puzzles parts. This is a really big part. I worked a lot with a lot of people on the temples. Woo! This guy's going bananas.
Okay, he wants to get you.
Um, so yeah, the puzzle parts, I love them. It's a game. When I look at the game, there's lots of times where I don't even know how we did it. Yep.
If you guys are interested in more story stuff, we do have a live stream with Jonas the writer. You can find basically here if you're looking at it through Twitch, or also on our Good Shepherd YouTube in a playlist. So I can link that to you guys if you want. A technical question: did porting the game to consoles present any extra challenges?
Ooh, for sure. That's a very interesting question, and actually, the ports to the consoles was a significant challenge for a very particular reason. Almost all video games, it's a bit like most video games tend to sort of do a lot on the GPU to sort of like impress people, like GPU, the graphics processing, the video card, like the graphics. So in most games you'll have like really beautiful landscapes and you'll fight against some creatures, and they're all very detailed, have lots of polygons, and everything looks very beautiful. But for the most part, you're just like the hero fighting against maybe 5, 7, uh, just a few enemies in levels that may be big or may not be big, but those levels tend to be static in nature. They're not dynamic. So in a city level, you might have the cars be dynamic, the lampposts you can maybe run them over and stuff, and you have the pedestrians and stuff. But for the most part, the environments are static. And in Eternal Cylinder, almost everything for us has to be dynamic. What that means is that the thing that's most taxing for this game is CPU, not GPU. GPU is fairly simple to optimize because if you have an older system, basically the consoles are, everyone knows that the base consoles, the base Xbox, base PlayStation 4 at this point are several years old. I mean, what's it been, 5 years more? So the hardware in terms of graphics and CPU is kind of old. But when you're optimizing graphics, you can basically toggle certain things like less polygons, screen resolution. You can change things as the lighting models of the game, do them a little bit more simple. The texture resolution, lower it, and you'll get away with basically getting optimal performance. What happens with CPU is that you have none of that, because CPU means the AI, the physics, the gameplay, the collision detection, the navigation of creatures. And you can't simply say, you know what, I'm going to simply tone down those things. What does that mean? The only way you can get that done is basically optimizing code. And when you have a giant cylinder which is rolling through a giant world, which is um, where you have destructible objects, you have creatures which are running away from the cylinder, you have your own creatures which are running with you, you have the navigation mesh, which is the pathway for the creatures to move around. And on top of that, you also have this is a 3D game. You have the polygons, the lighting, and all those things together. Uh, at the beginning, you're gonna find out that wow, there's so many things are going on. So the consoles, uh, the current like the past, well, the Xbox, the base Xbox and the PlayStation 4, they don't have that in terms of GPU. They were kind of okay for time like this. You can see games like The Last of Us, and they look beautiful and all those things. Well, Naughty Dog are geniuses, so they do magic with those systems. But on the CPU side, they have pretty ancient CPUs. What meant that we had to pass on a lot of code from the game that was written originally in this form with the blueprints. We had to move it onto C++. C++ is like the code you would see on a programmer's screen, which looks more like text code, not binary code, because that no one programs in binary code, but that means C++ runs, the code done in C++ runs much faster and much more efficient than blueprints. I think I extended this answer way too much, but yes, it was a big challenge. Performance was a very big challenge, the biggest one we've had yet on any game for consoles.
I think that makes sense. Hopefully that's interesting to you guys in chat. Yeah, do you have any last? I think we're wrapping up here in the last couple minutes of our allocated hour. You can certainly run over if you want to, but if there's anything else you want to show. Otherwise, guys, I know you've asked more questions, and I'll save any that we don't answer today for our next stream, which is not next Friday, but the Friday after.
Yeah, questions if you want. I got some stuff here. Show some. These are some meteorites.
Okay, here is one. Let's see. In the Cube Elder, the huge one that we see in the trailer on the floating platform, is that the Trebum equivalent of a wizard, whatever term you'd like for powerful magic user? And they also want to know how, again, they've always been fascinated with how big the elders can grow. And now someone else is asking about the Tongal Grop lit, and I guess basically would the elders ever be big enough to take one down?
So
that's three questions. Like, one, are they wizards? Two, how big do they get? And three, would they be big enough to take down a Tongal Grop?
They aren't wizards in a sense that they don't do like magic. They have the Trebum. Later in the game, there are parts where you get to see like the technology of the Trebum, and some of the things would seem like magic to us, but they are not doing it with magic. They have their own technology. And the Square Trebum definitely, the Square Elder definitely is one that is knowledgeable about that. Story-wise, I won't spoil why, but he is related to a certain contraption or a certain element that would almost look like magic in the game. So that was one of the questions. What was the other question?
How big they grow, and if they could ever take on a Tongal Grop.
I think when I think about the Trebum, I think that the Trebums are a little bit, since they're the intelligent creatures of the world. It's not something you immediately know when you start playing the game. They would be able to take on any creature, basically because they have tools, they have technology, they can do stuff. Not because they're physically that strong necessarily. Because you'll notice that most of the elders don't look like physically like they can run fast or move. Um, so no, I would not say that they would take on a Tonga crop like physically, but that would be like asking if a person could take on an elephant. Well, that depends on whether or not the person has the tools that you would have as a human being. Uh, or if you're basically naked against the elephant, I think you're not gonna win.
Fair point. Fair point. Okay. Now
uh,
they're very jealous of this editor, and Blue Critter Games is asking if we could ever get a creative mode that allows us to do all the things you're doing right now.
uh, I would like to, I would love to be able to maybe allow for these things and see how we can do that. That would definitely have to be something we need to think about post launch. Um, and I don't know. It might be something that comes up afterwards. Uh, the thing is that there's usually two ways to go uh, for this. On one end, you can sort of do something like allowing people to access the files of the game and do like more advanced sort of edits in which they can sort of almost work like if they had the Unreal Engine and tool and do stuff. And the second, which is quite frankly quite more complicated, is to have a game editor like to create a almost like a interface within the game itself, and and that's almost like creating a program of its own, because basically here whenever I'm just like grabbing stuff and moving it around and scaling it, I get all this by basically the Unreal Engine. It's uh, it's me manipulating things from a tool that has been developed by a company that has thousands of engineers and thousands of hours of engineering. So obviously the versatility, the amount of things I can do with the Unreal Engine, and for anyone who's ever been interested in game development, I really, really, really recommend just downloading Unreal Engine and just playing around. It's so much fun. But for the game itself, we would have to see maybe what people prefer. If they actually want to get their hands more dirty and sort of like go into the files and have something akin to being able to do something like similar to what I'm doing here with the Unreal Engine, but it's more tech difficult, versus having something that's much more user friendly but limited, in which you have an editor like the games like Trackmania and stuff where you can make your own things. They will never allow you, give you the amount of options that you would have like on a regular editor. But who knows? Might be something that we can look into in the future.
Yeah, Blue Critter Games. We always say if you really want something, ask for it a lot, and the more of you that ask, the more it's likely to happen in the future.
Yep.
The Eternal Cylinder is an Epic exclusive at launch, so there's definitely like possibilities for the future later on that we'll see. Just let us know if you like stuff. We'll consider it.
This is a nice Easter egg. If anyone,
Oh, we were just asking about that. Are there Easter eggs?
well, this is not in the actual game. I think this 3D model is not used in the actual game. I'm not sure. But this is actually a part of the Deadly Tower of Monsters. Anyone who's played that Ace Team game, there's a giant tower, like a cylinder going up, and you get to climb it all from like floor level all the way up to space, and you can see all the planet at the bottom. And this is one of the structures that holds that tower. So it's a 3D model I stole from one of our other games, and we used it at the beginning when we were prototyping some stuff. It was kind of okay. We have this cylinder here.
So gosh, yeah, always loved cylinders. Noted.
Yes, yes, we have lots of games with cylinders.
Okay, guys, thanks for all your questions and for watching the stream. As usual, huge thanks to Carlos for being here. And some things to note as we wrap up, the Xbox demo is still currently available if you want to play the Eternal Cylinder. It is available for Xbox One and XS if you have either of those. Go into the store, look it up, and download. And also, this weekend, starting the 24th through the 31st, we are going to be a part of DreamHack at the Good Shepherd Entertainment booth, where you can look at the Eternal Cylinder trailer and just kind of see this really neat DreamHack Beyond kind of world that they've created that you can walk through with your digital avatar. We're in Kaiju Hall 2, and I'll be posting that up on social media too. So if you forget, but that's happening this weekend. If you want to check out DreamHack Beyond, you might see a trailer for the Eternal Cylinder. Okay, Carl's saying the last words, and then we'll see everyone in 2 weeks, I guess.
That's it. I've just turned the Deadly Tower of Monsters into the Eternal.
Into a cylinder. Are you gonna roll it across the map now? Because that would be amazing. Does it roll?
I can make it rotate. I wouldn't know how to make it. There you have it.
Nice, nice.
Okay. Well, it was great being here. Lots of fun. I always love doing these things, especially with these. We have many of these custom levels, but yeah, maybe we'll do another one like this one, and I'll dive into other topics. Definitely, I would definitely like to do one of this when once the game is out. That has some of the stuff that I wish that I said that I didn't want to spoil. So yeah, we'll see. But these are really fun.
Awesome, yeah. Okay, if you guys want to continue the conversation after the stream, a link will appear hopefully for the Discord for Eternal Cylinder. You could jump in there and continue talking about everything you saw. And we will see you in 2 weeks.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.